Thank you for joining the discovery session. My name is Thomas Krämer and I will introduce the question search. In this session we will cover the reasons why we build question search at ESIS and give a brief definition of what we consider fair-fielded survey questions. After quickly revising the functional requirements of question search, we will explain the automatization of the various services in the application's ecosystem. Of course, we will have a deeper look at the question search itself in a demo and at the benefits from a scientist's and the institutional perspective. The documentation of studies at question and variable level is only a precondition. It does not yet lead to reuse. From our point of view, the next step needed to promote reuse of questions was a fine-grained search for international fielded questions. As only few such search applications exist, standards-based pipelines for institutions to easily ingest their questions do not exist either. Researchers need a low-level and easy-to-use possibility to proceed with selected questions to conduct their own research. And expert knowledge should ideally not be required to use it. Most of you are likely familiar with the FAIR principles. Translated to the question search, this means to provide full support to researchers to find fielded questions, to provide access to the questions, associated variables and context, such as the study or study series and the institutions involved, to ensure interoperability using existing standards, such as DDI, but also standardized vocabularies and persistent identifier schemes. And finally, to promote reuse, which means making it easy for researchers to proceed with selected questions to building one's own surveys. From a researcher's perspective, three main requirements exist. To search questions not only in full text but on a per field basis and using search facet on study attributes such as country or collection year, or in question attributes such as the interview language. Then, to compare candidates in detail, side by side, to see which ones fit best. And finally, to export selected questions into questionnaire editors for their own research. The DDI search system architecture not only consists of the DDI search frontend. Several backend components are orchestrated into an automated pipeline to achieve a fast and up-to-date question index. Left hand, we see the aggregating component. We collect DDI either using OAI PMH or periodically retrieving archives containing DDI files. GESIS FlatDB is the persistence layer used to store DDI in a standardized way. An import microservice is used to ingest the aggregated DDI files. And an optional convert microservice can transform from and to different DDI versions. Then the indexing microservice builds an Elasticsearch index. The index applies language analysis and processing such as stemming for more than 20 languages. But now let's have a look at the question search UI. Here we are. When you log in, you're redirected to the search of questions. As you can see on the left side, we have currently a little more than 130,000 questions. On the left side, there are the various facets that you can use to refine your search, such as a specific study, a study series, the country where the study took place, or the publisher or the topic of coverage. Maybe some general remarks on language handling. We implemented a language concept which allows you to set the preferred content language. If your preferred language is not available, there will be a fallback to English language, and if this is not available, there will be the language displayed which is available in this question. Here in the second result, we see that the Turkish language variant is displayed. Imagine the use case where you want to search for questions in a specific language. You can select, for example, Armenian as your preferred language, and you can see here that we support also non-Latin character sets. Another example is Georgian language, which is also supported. In a detailed view, here you can see that the question text is available in 2 different language variants, not in your preferred one, but the response categories are available only in Georgian language. You might want to have a look at the study details, the questions that belong to this study. It takes a while, it will retrieve up to 500 questions. And if study documentation is available for this study, you can access this also by just clicking on the documentation link. Now, let's take a different use case. Let's say you want to examine different occupations in public transport. So you could simply type in occupation and maybe driver, and you will see those questions ordered by relevance that match this criterion. But still, this is not very fine-grained. So instead, you could put your search term in the per field search here. So let's put occupation in the question text and driver in the response category box. Now you see those questions where these criteria apply. You can see the response categories of the questions by clicking on the response categories link. You could limit your search to question properties only available in a specific language. As you can see now, the question text and the response category search bar will now apply only to the Czech language variants. Now, let's say we want to have a closer look at those questions and compare them. So you can put either all visible results, here the 5 results on your current result page, or just selected questions to your comparison clipboard by using this button. You can then open the comparison and compare the properties of questions side by side. If you finalize the comparison and you identified candidates that you want to use, you can put them to your basket using the basket button and export them as PDF, or use the questionnaire editor to automatically import those questions, including all their attributes in the selected language, to the questionnaire editor to conduct your own research. As we just saw, the benefits for researchers are to have a faceted search facility which is easy to use without expert knowledge. The possibility for users to store their results and to finally transfer them for reuse in their own research. From an institutional perspective, there are technical and strategical benefits when adopting question search. First, the stack was developed following a user-driven approach. User tests with the CESTA EQB community were the basis for the UI development, thus ensuring that functionalities meet the researchers' real demands. Second, with GESIS FlatDB, a strong, tested, open source and DDI compliant persistence layer exists, maximizing interoperability through an open and extensible API. Finally, with an open source licensing policy, institutions are safe from the risk of vendor lock-ins, which are often unavoidable with commercial solutions like Nesta or Collectica. And institutions can choose smooth, step-by-step implementation paths, unlike with monolithic architectures such as Dataverse. Now, here are listed a few ideas for discussion. At GESIS, we are curious to hear what your opinions are on an international question search, for example. But of course, practical questions are welcome too, like how to operate the entire stack, for example. Then I'd like to point to Klaus-Peter Klaas' talk on the questionnaire editor. He will also demonstrate on how to import questions that we just selected in our basket. Thank you.